Well, I got something new to share with you guys. It is a new modern Dash 9 UP diesel. This is courtesy of a friend of mine who, when Bachmann released these like a year or two ago, he got a little carried away, bought one too many Dash 9s, and offered to sell me one. So I ended up buying it. I wanted to make sure it ran on my layout, and once I confirmed it did by borrowing his a while back, I did decide to go ahead and purchase this. So let's open her up, take a look at it, and you can see what it looks like with me. Okay, so as you know, the process of getting these out of the box is always a little cumbersome. I really appreciated it when LGB made the side open on some of their later models. Made it a lot easier to get the styrofoam out without bumping the locomotive hard. So this thing, I did test run it on my track, but basically this is brand new. I'm the one that wrote these on here and everything else. When my buddy sold this to me, it had no time on a track. So you guys are getting to see this. Basically a like new Bachmann Dash 9, and I know there's plenty of videos out there of unboxings. That's not what the goal of this one is. I kind of wanted to give you guys the same experience I got when I opened this for the first time, just so you can see it for yourselves. So let's get the locomotive out. So there she is. She's looking really nice. The livery looks pretty good on it. The flag, you could tell it's like a, I don't know, you could tell it's from a printer. Let me just put it that way. It'd be nicer if it was a little more crisp like the other logos. At a foot away, you're not gonna notice, but up close it looks just a little bit fake. Everything looks good on this. So let's go ahead and get her on the tracks and give her a spin. One thing I did notice when I borrowed this from my buddy the first time is it is set so that it goes the opposite direction of all my other locomotives when I applied power. And what you do is you just pull this lid off. There's all the different switches here. So like lights, smoke, motor, battery or track power. I run track. And then the NMRA or large scale setting. You have to switch it to large scale if you want it to run the same direction as all your other like LGB, USA Trains, everything else. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge model railroader in other scales. I don't know what the NMRA is. I know it's a standard. I find it interesting that it's apparently opposite of all my G scale locomotives. That's a bit strange to me, but again, I don't know the story behind that. But just be aware of that if one of you guys ends up getting this. So let me go get my remote control and let's see it run around the layout a bit. All right, so here she is rolling along. If you remember, I have R3, LGB R3 curves here, which I think those are 15 foot, 16 foot, I'm sorry, 8 foot diameter. I think that's what they are. The one thing I'll note is the engine, the motor on this does sound pretty noisy. I don't know how well that's coming across in the video, but it's got a little bit of a grindy noise to it, and I'm really hoping over time that goes away. So I really like all the lights. They have the safety lights on the side and on the steps there. They have a little light. As you can see, it handles my R3 turns just fine. I have put a piece of rolling stock on the back, a 40-foot boxcar, I believe, and I made sure that it could handle the turns too, and it does. It's tight. It's not graceful about it, but it does it. So let me give some first impressions on this thing. Obviously, I've already mentioned the noise of the motor. I'm hoping that goes away over time. Let me just talk about, in general, a little bit of a rant here on the value versus cost of G-Scale in 2025. I feel like it's just out of pace and ridiculous with the average person anymore. These things, when they were selling from, yeah, their MSRP is like $1,200. Okay, they don't sell for that much. You could get them usually around, don't quote me on this, I think it was $850 to $900, somewhere in that price range, maybe $950. Honestly, for what you get, I mean, it's a beautiful looking locomotive, but it doesn't include any sound built in. It's got a lot of lights on it. The livery looks good. And if, for those of you who don't know, this is not a new locomotive. This is an old Aristocrat model from the mid-2000s that Bachmann bought the molds to. They did some very small enhancements, nothing really notable. And now they're selling new ones. I'm happy there's new ones available, but man, $850, $950 for one of these without sound or anything? It just, I don't know. I guess my expectations, I know that some model railroaders will be like, dude, that's a bargain. I don't know what you're talking about. But when a modern high-tech smartphone costs less than a DC track-powered locomotive without sound, I guess I'm just not understanding where that cost-benefit ratio is for the consumer. I know there's a lot fewer people buying a Bachmann Dash 9 than a new Apple iPhone or Galaxy smartphone, but I feel like maybe if this were $650, like at retail, you go to the store and buy it, that's how much it is, that might make sense. The only reason I've got one is my buddy gave it to me at a price that I could stomach. And like a lot of guys, I really want a modern diesel locomotive on my layout. I have the GPs, I have the F7s and all that, but I don't have anything that would have been made post 1980, on my layout. Hell, probably 1960. And it would be nice to get something a little more modern. So I jumped on this, and I don't regret it for what I paid, but I don't think I would have ever paid the asking price at retail for what this is. Kudos though on the lighting. The lighting looks fantastic. It's really well done. Really bright. I like all the little accessory lights on the sides, the safety lights on the stairs, all that's great. I think if this came with sound built in, I'd be a lot less critical. I probably would be, because I'm like, okay, it comes with sound. And let's be honest, modern technology, my kids' trains that cost $20 have sound and stuff. Are they great? No, of course they're not. But I know that soundboards cost $180 or whatever for G-Scale, which again, I'm like, it just seems like they know their market will pay it versus people like me who are frugal. Because I'm like, you could get an Arduino board and make your own soundboard for like $30 in actual parts in a couple hours of time. It just, I don't know. I feel like the hobby's been stuck in 1990 and really hasn't evolved since then. And I'd really like to see new things happen. Like these locomotives, in my opinion, they should come with a capacitor bank built in from the get-go. That way, if it runs over a dead section of track or the power in your system isn't great, those capacitors equal it out and it'll help the train run another half a second or something over a dead spot. Sound built in. Don't know why it's not built in. Have it where you can literally just have a pocket in these that you can drop a battery in and plug it in without having to disassemble the whole locomotive, taking like the shell off and everything else. All that stuff, man. They have that in HO and N scale, and it would sure be nice to start getting some of those features in G scale, especially for the price we're paying and the size these things are. It wouldn't be hard. All right, the last thing I want to do here is see how well the train can navigate my switching yard. I suspect it's going to be absolutely it won't. Every one of my locomotives you see here, all these USA trains, all the LGBs, everything in here can navigate this R1 switch and all these R1 switches. They don't like it, but they can do it. I suspect this one will not be able to, even by itself, even without rolling stock. I suspect I will not be able to get it in here. So let's see. I've got it switched so it turns there and goes straight. Obviously, I could park it on this first line, which is a straightaway, if I wanted to. But that's my Mikado, and I'd rather not have to move that locomotive out of its location. But let's see how this works. So we'll come in nice and slow. See how it handles this. So slow it down to a crawl. Oh, let's give it a little nudge. Oh my gosh, it did it. All right, I'll stop it there. It's starting to go on the other track. I can't believe it did that. All right, let's reverse it out. A little slow. Wow, that blows my mind. Okay, let's try one more time. Going forward again at a little bit more speed. Wow, I can't believe it did that. That is quite amazing. Now, I guess the next test would be see if it can achieve that with rolling stock attached. I highly doubt it can, but I'll have to try that and see what it does. Okay, got a USA Trains caboose, knuckle coupled to the Dash 9. Let's go in here and flip some of these switches. So you already saw that it came in by itself. Let's see if it can do it with something attached to it. So let's give it a shot. Well, I'll be damned. It actually did it. All right, let's back it out. Wow. Now, I don't think it would be able to handle an S turn, you know, where it like turns here and turns again. Maybe if it turns and then it's one of these switches up here, but not these two. I'm impressed. Well, guys, that was unexpected. I definitely did not expect it to be able to handle that turn. That's good news for me. That means I may be able to park it in there with a load behind it on one of those tracks. That's really good news. I'm really shocked. You know, you go on the forums or Facebook and you ask people, well, what's the minimum radius you need for this? And you'll get people saying, oh, you need like a 10-foot diameter or 15 foot, you know, or, oh, it might do R3, but it'll derail all the time. And I guess it just depends on who you are and what you're running. I'm very impressed. That's really good for this train, that I should be able to use it on my switch yard or my engine shed if needed. Here I am running the Dash 9 and at dusk. I must say the lighting on it does look phenomenal. It doesn't even come across that great here on film, but when I first turned this thing on and saw the headlight pointing at me, I was really impressed with how bright it was, and all the safety lights on the steps, on the railings, etc. They have that light there shining on the side, kind of near the flag. Come from the front here so you can see what I mean. It really does look great. I want to show you this shot where it comes around the corner and you can see how bright those headlights are. Nice and bright. Anyway, there you go. So it works pretty well. I'm really happy with it. You've already heard my ranting a little bit about, I don't know if it should cost as much as it does. I wish it were a little less expensive. I wish it came with sound. But overall, I'm really happy it can run on my R3 turns okay with rolling stock, or at least with one caboose, and it can handle my switches in the engine shed. All that's great. Good news. I guess it kind of goes to show that there's a lot of dogma in the G scale, or in the train hobbies in general, because if you were to ask about this right now on Facebook or one of the G scale forums, I guarantee you somebody's going to say no, this train cannot handle an R1 switch. I have video proof right here it does. Maybe it needs to be just the perfect condition for it to work, but you saw here, it handled the switch. It didn't like it, but it did. So just keep that in mind. Whenever you ask a question on a forum and somebody says something, oh, this can do this can't do that, you might want to ask a little more detail. Like, is that with the standard knuckle coupler? Is that with hook and loop? Are you using body mount couplers? Are you running those USA Trains intermodal or auto racks, which are like 4 times longer than most locomotives? Because yeah, all that's going to make a big difference. Obviously, I don't have that kind of rolling stock an issue on my layout. I try to keep it, I wouldn't say it's simple, but it's not super complicated. I don't have 20-foot sweeping curves and all that. It's just one of those things that you don't know until you try. And that's half of what I'm doing here, is just figuring out what does and doesn't work. And so there you guys go. Hope you liked watching me discover this Dash 9 and testing it out. So thanks for watching.